WoW 11.0, the Metzen effect. The Metzen effect. Will there be an effect? I think people need to calm down a little bit on the return of Metzen and how he's going to save the game. Because you got to remember, the expansion that he's going to introduce to us at BlizzCon, he didn't have really anything to do with. I mean, maybe he was around a little bit, but these things are made years ahead of time. I think where we'll see the Metzen effect is probably in the next expansion, but who knows? Maybe he had a say in some things on this one. Let's see what the Metzen effect is here.
Oh, hell, not this again.
Dragonflight didn't sell all that well. Hype for 10.2 is at the very best fragmented. BlizzCon 2023 tickets didn't sell out for the first time ever, and we are all looking at one man to change it all. Chris Metzen. Will he be able to make you get back into the game? Let's see if World of Warcraft can be World of Warcraft once again.
Metzen's gonna look at us and be like, put it back in. We're not done yet. Put it back in. You gotta be careful when they say that.
The one, Chris Metzen. It's no secret that the Warcraft universe is more or less Chris's baby.
One of the things we always thought was a good idea is holding on to the more traditional fantasy archetypes, because that's what most people kind of glom onto. It's that familiarity of dwarves and elves and magic rings and things that kind of define what fantasy is.
And during the years he worked at Blizzard before retiring, he led the main narratives for all of Blizzard's IPs. Characters like Arthas, Thrall, Jim Raynor, Kerrigan, Varian, Tyrael were born from his creative mind.
All badass
characters. You have to remember that Metzen was Senior Vice President of Story and Franchise at Blizzard, meaning that he never got into the nitty-gritty details of each narrative.
In the War of the Ancients trilogy, the first book, Richard had created a character named Hakar. I think it was Hakar the Houndmaster, if memory serves. Pretty cool demon character, who's one of the agents of the Burning Legion. And I think what happened, which happens more often than I really want to admit.
Don't we fight him in Fireland?
It was just such a cool name. It was just kind of jumbling around in the hard drive. And when I went to jam out Hakar the Soul Flayer, Hakar, I'm a genius, you know? These guys roll me on that like daily, right? Like, dude, you know Luke Skywalker's already taken, right?
But rather
him coming back to BlizzCon is just gonna make it so much better. He's a good talker, right? He can make you laugh. He's good at he gets you hyped. He's gonna get the audience hyped. No matter what the next expansion is, if we're getting like World of Warcraft dwarves, you know, whatever like it's looking like, he's gonna get us hyped over it. We're gonna be excited. I'm gonna pre-purchase it because I'm a fucking pleb and that's what I do for this game. But Metzen is like the creator of the stories, right? He's the heart and soul of all the stories in World of Warcraft. And that's why I'm hoping that, because he's more of a hardcore guy. Like, he's more of that blood and thunder and Loktar Ogar, victory or death. Like, that's Metzen. So I hope he kind of sees where the game is now, you know, Dragon Tales. Let's all go to Dragonland and, you know, have fun and hold hands and have some weird scaly furry orgies and shit like that. I hope he sees that. He's like, guys, we got to go back. We got to crush some skulls. We gotta hit axe on shield. Like, we need more hard war shit going on in this game. This is World of Warcraft. Like, this is a game where like we had fucking heads on spikes and dead people hanging from a tree in front of Scarlet Monastery. We need to get back to the hard shit, the shit that made this game war-y. And I think that's what he's gonna do. I hope that's what he brings back to the game. Is more of that, you know, sweaty World of Warcraft shit.
The overarching story, the big picture, focusing on bombastic moments in key timelines of each game he worked on, while always giving one or two characters some nuance and involvement in the grand scheme of things. Juggling this for WoW, StarCraft, Diablo, and let's not forget Titan, which later became Overwatch, have surely taken their toll on him, because of when he retired, he mentioned Burnout. And
I think Project Titan / Overwatch is what did him in. Like, he was done after that. That was like, it was technically a failure. Overwatch was a success when it came out, but it was supposed to be an MMO. It was supposed to be the next MMO for them, and it wasn't. And I think it just wrecked him. Like, he needed to take a break after that.
Health issues. Now he's back at Blizzard as executive creative director for the Warcraft franchise. He initially was back in a consultative role, but now he's in the lead team once again, this time only for Warcraft. When the tweet announcing this went out, a lot of people got excited, us included, him stating that
they concentrated him, right? Like, they know he got burned out last time. They're like, we're not going to have you writing stories for every single fucking WoW franchise, right? Or a Blizzard franchise. World of Warcraft is our baby. It's your baby. You're going to focus on this, all right? Chrissy boy, come on back here. Sign on the dotted line. And he was like, sure, hell yeah. I'm gonna fix this
working
shit.
on World of Warcraft again is amazing and feels like coming home gave us a lot of hope. But why did we need hope?
All the bronies and furries, they're welcomed here. I just won't be nice.
Let's face it, Shadowlands did irreparable damage to the game. Blizzard's lawsuit did irreparable damage to the company, which in the past was so highly regarded. It basically could do no wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember too, with the stock market, it's I don't take like a lot of stock in the stock market in terms of like whether a company's successful or not. Because you got to remember, like, this was all COVID hype, right? Like, this doesn't mean the game was good. Shadowlands was happening, you know, so this is not the game. This is not that the game was good. It was that the whole stock market was on a rise because of fucking COVID and the paychecks that everyone was getting, and they're just pouring it into the market and shit.
Emotional damage.
Indeed, you know, emotional damage is important for those who delve into the realm of furriness. It happens.
Dragonflight was amazing in so many ways. It removed all the things we hated in BFA and Shadowlands, but the salt and pepper were missing. You couldn't really put your finger on it, but for as much fun you had with the game technically, the more you felt this weird vibe that it's just not Warcraft anymore. Everybody's talking about this obscure Warcraft feeling that is somehow missing and has been missing for a long time. Metzen's last involvement was with the BFA launch cinematic, and you can clearly notice this as he was always for the big, jaw-dropping moments, regardless if it was within the game or carried through a cinematic.
I wonder how he felt about what was happening with Sylvanas. Because I think he knew, right? He was part of the BFA cinematic. I wonder if he knew like what was going to happen. He probably didn't like it.
Was the last expansion he worked directly on,
yeah, those
and
stimulus
again,
checks,
you
exactly.
notice this. There were plenty of jaw-dropping moments, from Ysera's death, Illidan's story, to Sargeras plunging his sword into Azeroth. What did we get after his retirement? An initial giga hype for the opening of BFA with an annoying bait and switch towards the end of it, moving into Shadowlands, where, let's be fair, there was no big moment, and apart from Denathrius, there were really no memorable characters or...
Yeah, Denathrius was the man. Not only was there no big moments in Shadowlands, there was no plan whatsoever. Like, I still don't know what the jailer was trying to do, to be completely honest with you guys. I have no idea what that fucking guy was up to. Like, he finishes the expansion, he's like, what is to come? I'm like, come? I haven't come this entire fucking expansion. I've been literally blue-balling the entire time because you haven't told me shit. I don't know what's going on. I have no idea why I'm fighting against you. I have no idea why I'm here. I've literally just been dicking around, making a legendary weapon over and over, thanks to my fucking Torghast runs, and I have no idea why I've been doing this. Thanks a lot. Very anticlimactic. You know how fucking bad that is to blue ball somebody for that long, an entire expansion? Yeah, not the best. And I rewrote the jailer. I made a whole video about it. And I'll make sure it's up after this video, is at the end of this video, but I rewrote him so we actually understand why he did what he did. Because that to me is important for a villain.
Interesting story arcs. The jailer was probably the worst villain Warcraft ever had, who obnoxiously was placed as the master 5D chess player who orchestrated everything, including Arthas and the whole story of Warcraft 3. Dragonflight brought us a much softer vibe, almost too soft for a game that has war in its title, and a lot of folks felt it was a bit off. Apart from your...
This is the same game, mind you, this is the same game where Garrosh called Sylvanas a bitch. Okay, same game, slightly different feeling.
Hardcore players, the big majority of players are drawn in to play when they recognize an epic moment, a dangerous intrigue, or, let's face it, a familiar character. Dragons are cool. We love dragons. Dragons in Dragonflight were okay. And again, so far, there weren't any jaw-dropping moments.
I will say Iridikron to me is interesting. He's not too bad. I kind of like Iridikron a little bit. You know, I understand what he's up to. Again, he's not like the jailer. We know what his plan is. His plan is to bait the Titans to come back to Azeroth so he can beat the ever-living fuck out of them for what they did to the dragons and, you know, the primals and all that shit. That's understandable. How he's going to do it, we're still figuring it out. It's starting to make sense. You know, he's playing with the void a little bit. He's going to do some kind of shit with the essence of Galakrond. That's fine. You know, there's more to nuance to him than there was to the jailer. I don't mind Iridikron. He's cool. What's going to happen with him? I don't know. We'll see if he has a cool finish.
Chris Metzen always made sure that you got at least one scene or at least one dialogue that would either break your heart or fill you up with pride and get you pumped to carry on. The day-to-day gameplay in WoW is better than ever, but the context in which you play is not interesting or not enough to have you wondering what's beyond or what's next. It's in part our fault that we kind of made Chris a somewhat of a rock star. We loved his energy at past BlizzCons. We loved his conduct in interviews, and above all, we always wanted more from the context he and his team created for our daily gameplay. Why the need for hope? Because we are missing the feeling of wonder, excitement, curiosity, hunger to log in, to play every day, and it seems that a lot of us feel like Metzen is the one to deliver on that. Why care anymore?
It's tough, man. I'm not gonna lie. Metzen has a lot. He's got a lot to live up to, man. We're expecting him to do a lot. I hope he can deliver.
It's weird talking about all these emotions one person can go through because of a video game. I mean, hell, it's just a game. Blizzard is a greedy company only interested in milk.
You know what that was, guys? If you don't know, that's a paladin. That was one of the original Paladin sketches. Look at how fucking badass this is. Does this look like it belongs in the same game as fucking Dragon Tales / Flight? No. This is like hardcore. This guy's fucking blind. Literally using the power of faith and the light to guide him through this dangerous world. This is badass. He's got a biker stash too. Yeah, this is not, it's not the same. This is the shit that we want to go back to.
Company only interested in milking your money. Why give a flying fuck about them and their game? Hope? Broken hearts? It's a game, dude. Like, what the hell? Listen, I totally understand that, especially if you played on and off or picked up the game recently. For many of us, though, playing WoW for this many years, Warcraft has been a part of us growing up into adults. The game was there when you graduated high school. It was there the next day you came home wasted from a party. It was there when you broke up with your significant...
No, it wasn't there when I got back from the party. It was there because I didn't go to the fucking party. That's right. I had to fucking raid and shit, man. I was not going to no fucking parties. My mom actually told me one time. This is what she told. Her fucking, like, I was like 17 at this time. I think I was playing Wrath and shit at this time. She comes into the family office one day, and it was Friday night, and I'm raiding. I'm doing Karazhan. I'm going ham. I'm so excited. And my mom was like, "It's Friday night. Aren't you like gonna go out with your friends or something?" I'm like, "I am out with my friends, Mom. I'm exploring a massive magical castle, the home of a corrupted mage. Okay, I'm with my friends. We're just in WoW right now." She's like, "Okay, well, you know, I think you should get out more a little bit." I was like, "No, I'm fine, Mom. Thanks. We got any more Hot Pockets in the fridge?"
Other. It was there when you had your first kid, and it also made you friends for life and unforgettable moments playing with all these people from around the world.
Connections
Chris
for life.
Metzen is expected to put the war back into Warcraft, and maybe placing this much faith into one person is dangerous. I mean, I can't even imagine how he feels seeing all this hype surrounding his return and seeing that people expect so much from him, basically having him get World of Warcraft back to its former glory. He is, after all, known for delivering the... By the way, I am coining this rock and roll token fantasy. Chris loves big, dangerous looking orcs. He loves the idea of brutal warriors studying the light and becoming paladins. He loves spiky demons and all-out conflict as much as he loves a redemption story. But most of all, he loves culminating little stories into huge conclusions. Looking back at some of his original drawings...
We haven't had any of that shit lately. Like, no big, you know, big climactic moments. That's definitely what we're missing.
...and sketches, you can clearly see he was much more into the visceral element.
Literally a fucking beheading with a hammer / sword weapon. This shit, we are far from this. I mean, if the dragons that we are currently playing with saw this shit, they would be mortified. They would fucking freeze in their in their forms forever. Be just stuck, petrified of what could exist outside of the Dragon Isles. I'd be like, holy shit, we're not moving for the rest of this fucking expansion. This is what we need, man. Look at this shit. This is hardcore.
It's a fantasy, even if Warcraft has always been on the lighter side in terms of its visuals. If anything, Chris proved that even in a relatively cartoony look, you can create unforgettable characters and stories, and they don't have to always be lighthearted or funny. Some people argue that no matter the story, artwork, or premise, the game will never recover because the real experience, the true World of Warcraft vibe, is the one you get from Classic. And make no mistake, we might have Chris announcing Classic Plus with new stories, zones, and raids for Vanilla WoW, and I don't disagree. I also know that most of our generation is the most nostalgia infected out of all of them, and nostalgia is big business worldwide. From movies, music, to our beloved video games. Nostalgia is nice, but it does tend to cloud your sense of today, and it definitely clouds any hope for future desires. Personally, I believe that retail WoW needs a healthy mix of both nostalgia and modern in order to get back on track. Part of this has already been undergoing in Dragonflight with the return to talent point and power being expressed only through gear you obtain. Granted, gearing needs to get back to the point you are actually excited about an epic that you loot, and that epic makes a visible impact, but that really isn't Metzen's department. Where Metzen can help with the mix is on the world you explore, quests you have to do, and little stories and characters you uncover along the way. Classic was always about the journey and about the exploration, not the endgame. Dragonflight had big improvements in terms of the exploration, but the journey felt it was there for the sake of it. The Metzen effect would ideally have you explore a familiar Warcraft world, incentivizing you to stop and wander, not to rush to max level.
Look, what I have to say is, Dragonflight under Metzen's hand, I think Farak would have done some dastardly shit. He would have been killing some people. Like, nobody's really died in Dragonflight. I mean, you know, we saw Sibelian literally take a fucking spear to the chest and he survived. Like, I think Metzen would have killed some people. And he would have had Farak do some real bad shit, like just burning people alive, fucking people up, torturing other dragons. Like Farak would have been a way more dangerous and dark person if Metzen had his hands on him. That's at least what I think. And maybe we're going back to that.
It should be a joy to start a new character from scratch because you missed on a lot of the quests, factions, or even zones while you leveled up your main. But those need to be that good, they need to be that engaging that you want to go back. I can think of examples from Mists of Pandaria where I couldn't wait to start a new character because I missed some of the quests in Veil of Eternal Blossoms, or in Cataclysm, where after leveling my human paladin, I really wanted to
Gilneas needs to be a city, like an actual city we can go to. They need to fix Gilneas because aesthetically I freaking love
level up a Worgen, just to discover Gilneas and all of the cool Victorian-like stories from there. See, these things were not only in Classic. You see, I see Dragonflight as a transition expansion, the beginning of a new age for WoW. They laid down the groundwork and put in what they could in terms of context, expecting to take a hit in terms of players coming back from Shadowlands, but having their most loyal be there helping with feedback and molding the game on what they notice and what the remaining community is saying. Gearing problems, Mythic Plus problems, same old gameplay loops, PvP problems, world events, and the list can go on.
Farak did turn a centaur to a pile of ash, but it would have been more violent. You know, it was like instant, right? It was instant in the cinematic. No, this one, it would have been a bit darker.
On and on. All this while preparing the actual banger for this new age of WoW. And who better to announce a banger and deliver on it than Chris Metzen? And the bangers are already hitting WoW in 10.2 with the recent rework to Vengeance Demon Hunter that you can check on our channel, where we go over everything that changed so far for Vengeance going into 10.2, making it maybe one of the most fun tanks you can play in the next season.
Yeah, great video. I mean, look, a lot of pressure on Metzen to get things right. I was, again, like just telling people the other day, I was like, guys, but just remember, he didn't do this next expansion. Right? Like, these things are made years ahead of time. I'm sure he's playing a big role in the one that's coming up because they're already making it. But, look, hopefully he played some type of role. There's some Metzen influence in this next expansion coming up. There's definitely going to be his influence at BlizzCon, which I'm excited to see. Well, let's just say the future of WoW is in the best hands it could possibly be in. And that's Chris Metzy Boy's hands.